Now to just finally check the dress and maybe some finishing touches, and what I've done is I've shortened mine slightly, if you can see. I've shortened this dress, and how I've done it, I've just gone underneath and I've just pulled in the base of the skirt and I've just tucked it down, so that will shorten it. So if you find that it's too long or you want it a bit shorter, more tutu like, then that is very, very easy to do. You just pull that in and then just poke that wool in around the base of the body, and that will shorten it for you. As you can see, I've done there. Just check you're happy with the positioning of everything. I may cover that up later on and just tidy that up, but I don't think I'm going to be seeing much of that, so I'm not too bothered by that. And that is our fairy doll ready for the next part. Now, if you thought you were having fun, this is going to blow your mind. This is it just takes me back to dressing up dolls when I was little. You know, it's something that's always there, and you know, it's so much fun and it's so relaxing. And if you've got kids, you know, and they can get involved in it, they can help you choose colours. Obviously, if they're young, they can't use the needle, but they can get involved. They can help choose the colours. They can work on the bits that don't need the needle. You know, they can do the twizzly bits, which we'll come to. And if you're going for something more simple without the legs, then, you know, the hair I will talk about, but this is just wool tops. I've plaited those and I really love that effect. That's really nice. And then we've got, this is called Throster's Waist. Let's have a look. There's a nice part there. So this is silk Throster's Waist, and that is absolutely gorgeous. I use that in a lot of beach pictures as well, but it is just one of my favourite embellishments, and everyone who's seen me use it then goes on to use it themselves. It's just so nice. And that's silk waist. I think there's a really good seller on Etsy, and I will pop a link below for that. If I don't put the link in, remind me. So we are going to get really creative, and you can go really simple or you can just go full on and throw everything at it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as you can see on this one, we've got these lovely little embellishments around the waist, and they're really easy. So what I've got here is I have this beautiful raspberry sort of colour, and I'm just going to pull little sections away and try and keep it away from the white dress. So you just want little wisps. I'm going to attach these around the skirt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that over, and this time, instead of it being like we did with the dress, we're going to have where the bend is, that is going to then be felted into this waist. And don't worry about what's going on here, that will be covered. You won't see any of this. What we want is these lovely sparse thin strands coming down, these little wisps, and then leave a gap. And then if you want, you could even spread it out a little bit if you wanted to make the job a little bit quicker. You can have different thicknesses, and just pull those out so you've got those nice wisps. And then for contrast, I've got this. This is tweed. It's like a purpley pinky, and it's actually called tweed. Again, this is a World of Wool blend, and I'm just going to pop that in the middle there. So we don't want to overwhelm it with that dark colour, so we'll pop in some more subtle shades in here, and then we can actually pop some of that on the top as well, and continue with that. If you've got some curls, you can add some curls in. This is Blueface Leicester locks, so I'm going to have these a bit shorter and probably here, so just pop those in there. These I've got Blueface Leicester, oh no, that's art yarn, but very similar. I think it's Blueface Leicester art yarn, and I've added these to the Winter Fairy, so it just adds some extra detail. So carry on around the dress until you're happy with what you've got, and then we will come back and add some different embellishments for the top. I've got an idea of what I'm going to do, so finish that and then we'll come back and I'll see you back here in a moment. As you can see, I've gone around the skirt. I haven't done all the twizzly bits yet and the finishing touches because it will get disturbed as we're working around it, adding the other elements. So we'll come back to that at the end, but you can see straight away how that is starting to look really, really beautiful. The colours are lovely. I'm not sure about the purple on the shoes. I don't seem to have anything else. I don't know why I've used that colour, but I may change that. But anyway, so here we go. We're going to, now if you've decided that that's enough for you, then you're going to wrap a belt around it, and I'll show you how to do that. But I wanted to add a little belt of petals around because I just think that it will look absolutely stunning when I've got all of those around. So I've done them all apart from one because I'm going to show you how easy they are to make. Now I have a blend of, you could use Angelina fibres. This is that lovely shimmery bio nylon. So rather than a full-on glitter, it's more of a shimmer. So it sort of reflects the light, and that's really nice. So that's the shimmery bio nylon. Then I've got the other, I've got a carded raspberry, the same as I've used on the dress, and a really light pink. Now, if you're only using a small amount, then you can just blend everything by hand. But if you're doing a lot of blending, then these are dog slicker brushes. I think you can get these in HEIDI Feathers. They're really cheap, so you don't buy the really expensive felting carders unless you're doing wet felting or you want large amounts. And then all you do is you just pop that on the brushes, and as you can see, that's starting to blend. Pull that off again. And that's it, and it just starts to blend, and you can blend it until it's really even, or I quite like to have, you know, elements of light and dark in it, and then that just pulls away, and that is ready to be used. And then you can just do a final blend with your hands if you're not happy with the blending, if you want to do a bit more. So let me show you how easy it is. Now I've made all these leaves. Once you've done one leaf, you can use that as your template. I have little leaf cookie cutters, but I'm not going to use those because I haven't got the size I wanted, as you can see. Too big, too small, and then not the one in the middle. I'm going to show you how really, really easy it is. So I have I took pinches of wool, all about the same size, so that I knew I was using the same amount. I'm using the firm 38, and I'm going to draw with the needle a petal shape. Don't know if that's showing up, but there's a reason that we do this, because we want that to stick to the mat a little bit. Can you see that? So we've got this petal shape there. And then what I'm going to do is, it's now holding onto the mat. So what I'm going to do is, once I feel that resistance, I'm going to stop pulling that over, and I'm just going to draw it in. Because we want these to be quite firm, so we want a decent amount of wool. We don't want them to be floppy, because we want them to hold the shape. And that's the beauty, is if you really, you know, if you felt wool quite firmly in these little petal shapes, they will really hold nicely. So we just work that in, and don't worry about the shape at the moment, just bring that to the centre. And flip it over. Can you see that pulling away from the mat? So you don't over felt in the same place. You're going to get that. That's unavoidable. And then if you're doing a lot of felting, then I would definitely advise one of these for flat felting. This is a 7 needle punch tool. I mentioned them earlier. You get the clover ones and these are the ones. I think one's made in China, one is made in Hong Kong. And this takes up to 7 needles, but I've only got 4 in there because I don't need the 7. But it just really, it's like the big guns. It's super fast. So if you're doing a lot of this, absolutely worth investing in. I think you can get these for about £8. I think the clover one are probably twice the price. And I've used these for over a decade and never felt the need to get a clover one. I think I have got one somewhere, but I tend to use these. And you see how that's not even sticking to the mat anymore. It's really fast. And then because I've blended the bio nylon, the shimmery fibres in with the wool, the wool has caught all of those fibres, so that's stuck together really nicely. And then to make sure that they're all the same shape, if you haven't got the cutter and you know you like doing it freehand, which I do, you can use one leaf as your main template, lay that on top of the leaf, the petal or leaf that you're working on, and you can make wings this way. It's a really good way to make little wings if you want to add some wings on. I am going to, but I'm not going to use wool. I'm going to use some skeleton leaves for the wings because I want something a little bit more delicate. Because there's a lot going on, I want the wings to be a little bit subtle. But in light of the time of year and the fact that it's a fairy, subtle isn't an issue. You can be as loud and vibrant as you wish. You just go with whatever floats your boat. You see I'm using that template so I can see that that is now starting to resemble the shape of the one on top. Make sure you don't felt them together. So you're pushing them to the side. Be careful of your fingers. I would definitely advise finger guards again for this part of the project. And then now we just need to work around the edges. I'm going to go away from the 38 and I'm going to use a fine 40 because a 38 is going to push, let's see, push gaps in there. It's going to make it uneven, whereas the 40 is much more delicate, just works in that very top layer. So you've got a really nice, neat edge. So now we're at both ends, but one end, you don't overwork the wool because that's going to get attached to the top of the skirt. This is going to be the end that sticks up. And they don't all have to be exact, just very similar. And obviously you don't want one that's twice the size. And just bring those wisps in with my needle. And then just get hold of that, roll the end between your finger, and then immediately you've got this lovely neat edge, and you can leave that wisp long, or you can actually just trim off the excess. And then because it's nice and firm, when we bend it, you know, when we roll it like so and into that petal shape, it will actually hold. So I have quite a few here. I'll attach a couple. You can go off and make the others if you're going to. I won't go through the whole process because you may have already decided that that's enough. And then we shall work on the head. So I'll just attach the first one. So all I'm doing, I'm going to put one in the center there. I'm going to go in with my fine needle. Now the fine needle will actually felt this in really well, so you just need to be careful of the wire underneath. You're only just going through the top. And there we go. And then I'm going to work round and add the others. And if you are leaving it like that, then take a length of white wool, wrap it round right under the arms because you want it to come higher. Wrap it around the arms and then tie it at the back. And you can either felt that in and then trim that off, or you could have a nice big bow. And you don't have to use white. You could use a contrasting colour. But then what that does is it gets rid of all the marks where you've felted around and added this layer in on the top skirt, and it just immediately neatens it. So if you are ready for that, then you do that. If you want to make the petals, carry on with those. I'm going to carry on adding mine, and then it is time to work on the hair and the wings. Okay, that's the outfit finished. If I was just using petals, then I would make sure there were no gaps, but because we've got quite a bit going on under here, then I wanted to leave a little gap in between, otherwise everything else gets lost. And then with the band here, I just added some of that shimmery nylon that I had, but again, Angelina fibre you can use if you want to. So we're almost there. We've just got to get the hair on now. I've got a little crown and then the wings, and you can use whatever colour scheme you were going with. I mean, for example, this one is a forest fairy, and she's really, really cute. And what I'm looking for is a little bit of this green wool. Here we go. So what I did with my other forest fairies was I actually just had like a fawn coloured leg, and then I attached some curls around the leg, so it actually looks as if they're part of the forest. You know, you've got the leaves sort of running up and down the legs. And I love that idea of just going with a more natural forest fairy look. And that's a brilliant project for autumn. So back to this one. Okay, hair. Now, entirely up to you. I have got some plant dyed art yarn here. That's the pink. So it's plant dyed hand spun art yarn. And then I've just got this plain white hand spun art yarn, and I believe it's Blueface Leicester, and I get my art yarn from Highland Colours. She does some absolutely gorgeous blended art yarns. She does the blues, this one on the forest fairy, so you've got these more natural locks. Absolutely brilliant she is. This is banana yarn, so you could use that would actually look really nice on the dress as well. So banana yarn is gorgeous. It's so shiny, and you know, it's got that really nice natural shimmer. And then I've got this really beautiful art yarn here. You could do whatever you wanted with it. You know, you could make curls. You don't need curls to make curls. But I am going with the art yarn. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to plonk that in the middle of the head. And because it's pure wool, and I'm using my fine needle because it just wants to grab the top. So we're not pushing through into the head. We're just attaching it and tacking it on to the top, and it will take some working in. There we go. And then you just attach sections at a time, and you can just sort of be quite random about it, or quite specific in the how it's laid out here, as you can see. And we were going to trim this, so anything that's, so we can actually trim that and double up that layer, because that's quite long. So rather than cut it, I'm going to pop that on the top of the head, and then I will actually trim through that. And I've also got some white for contrast, so I'm going to pop that there like that. And I want a nice covering. And I want it to come quite far forward here, because I want it just to sort of hang over the eyes. And again, it is going to be trimmed. So I'm just going to keep working on that. Okay, so the hair is on. I've gone a little bit wild with mine. You can obviously go with whatever style you like. Now, if you've made a tree topper or something to hang from the tree, I have just felted in a little bit of wool yarn, but you can actually sew it in if you want, but it's quite light, so just felting it in securely works really well. And then with this one, I'm just going to show you, I've added this little crown, and with this you don't need any glue to stick that on. What you can actually do is pop it inside there, and then just grab, a bit fiddly, but just grab a little bit of wool and poke that down through the edge of the crown. This is a metal crown just from Amazon, and that holds really nicely. Another crowns, silver crowns that I got from Amazon. These are gorgeous as well, and those I would actually probably stick onto the head before I put the hat around it. But they're beautiful as well. They're Amazon, not affiliated, but I will see if I can find the links of the ones I ordered. And then because there's so much going on, I've gone for subtle wings, but instead of felting them, because these are, you know, really sort of big, blousy wings. And if you want to do that, then do that exactly the same way as you did with the, as I showed you with the petals. It's just the same technique, just bigger. And I've gone quite loose with these, but you can really sort of spend more time felting them like I have done on this one. And I am just going to attach them. I'm going to see if I can felt these in with a little bit of wool. These are skeleton leaves. You're actually better just putting a dab of hot glue on them, but I'll see if I can get away with just popping in a little bit of wool there. That seems to be holding. They're really, you know, they're quite sturdy, but once you start poking at them, you start to reduce the integrity and you'll get holes in them. But that seems to have held quite nicely there. And then another one here, that down. And if you have really enjoyed this tutorial or any of my tutorials, there's so many of them, you know, it'd be great, again, like I said before, if you could just give it a like, a thumbs up, a share even would be fantastic. Just to support the channel, just means I can keep doing what I'm doing. And there we go, the wings are on. Ask me anything in the comments. I will get back to you. If there's anything you're not sure of, or you are feeling a bit stressed about a particular aspect of it. And then the last, really the final part, before I show you how to mount it if you want to mount it, is just to rearrange the skirt and then just twizzle these ends. And when you've done this and it's mounted and displayed, I like to go around with some hairspray and just spray these because it holds them in place where you've twizzled. You can't beat a good twizzle when you're needle felting for fantastic effects. And you could even do a full skirt like this rather than the puffball skirt. Pull these curls down, and you can go around and trim them if you think some of them are too long. Put that in there, bring that through, and that's it. And then you could have those petals up if you wanted, because they will hold their shape, or you can have them down. I'm not quite sure which way I prefer. I think I might have mine up. Just gives them more character, I think. But she is absolutely glorious. I absolutely adore her. Now what I've done here is I've just got a wood slice. I'm just going to pop her off, very undignified. That's the bio nylon that I've used as the base. Now here I've got a barbecue skewer. And I've just used, you know, one of the awls or a brad awl. It looks like this. You just poke a hole through with one of those. No need to drill. And then the flat end, cut the barbecue skewer, pop the flat end through there. And then you can pop it up the back. Not too low because you want those legs to be off the ground. I still think I'm going to change the colour of those shoes. And then you can actually manoeuvre and position those legs any way you wish. And then I just, to cover the base, make it more festive, just popped a little bit of that bio nylon there. But you could use anything, just white wool would work really well if you wanted to, or you could just keep it natural. And that is it. She is an absolute beauty, and I hope you have loved making her as much as I have. It'd be brilliant if you could send some photos. I'll pop the email address in the description, And thanks so much for joining me. I'll pop all the materials list in the description as well for you, so you know exactly what you need. Thanks so much, and happy felting.